So we're learning this evening the Shiur Dvar Malchus of the Rabbi, Parshas Chayei Toshin Beit, and that was the Shabbos of the beginning of the Kinus Shluchim that took place at that particular date. Shabbos Parshas Chayei, which was lighted exactly as it is now, was the same date. It was Chayei b'Malchus, and it was Shabbos Mavochim Chodesh Kislev, just like it is right now. And the learning is taking place in the Beis Knesset Tzedek, the Year Kodesh, Year Atika, Year Kodesh Tsfat. Tonight is Le Kof Daled Machezron, Thursday night, Le Kof Daled Toshin Pei. So what we're going to do is, like we've been knowing in the last few weeks, or the last few times that we've learned these amazing sikhs, is that we give a picture of the main sort of leading theme, and then we'll try to deal with what we've already learned a couple of times already. We'll try to deal in a bit more detail with the second part leading towards the completion of the sikha. So
I'd like to dedicate the learning tonight to Mendel Kummer. He broke his shoulder. Oh,
I can't hear.
Our efforts in learning should be for his Shlema. Mendel Kummer. Mendel Kummer.
Mendel Kummer?
He broke his shoulder. He broke his collarbone.
He should bend over.
He fell, Unafal, and he broke his shoulder. Mendel Kummer.
Mendel Kummer
fell,
broke his shoulder. He wants to do this in the Zechut for his Refuah Shlema.
Very sorry to hear that. Is he in?
Now
he's in
home.
hospital?
Now he's bye-bye. Now he's home. He's home, but
I can't hear. He's home.
The Shiur.
He's okay.
The learning is for his Refuah Shlema.
You know his Hebrew name?
Yeah, both, sure, yeah. I'm very sorry to hear. But Shem should wish him to give him a Refuah Shlema.
He wants to dedicate the learning tonight in the merit of his Zechus of his Refuah Shlema for Mendel Kummer.
He's in America?
No, he wants to dedicate, how do you say it?
You have to write everything.
You don't have to write it down, but you write it down.
We should dedicate the learning to his Refuah?
Yes.
Mendel Kummer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we from the depths of our hearts, we dedicate the learning and the schools of the learning to a Refuah Shlema and a Hachlama Gemur for Mendel Kummer.
Amen.
Good. So the Rebbe, rather unusually, the Rebbe begins the whole amazing sikha with like an announcement, and the Rebbe says that since we're holding very, very close to Moshiach, and now is the moment for Gilui Moshiach, and he stressed that already on numerous occasions in all the sikhas. He said that now we're holding at such a point that everything that could be done by way of Hachona has been done. And that was already announced pretty much fully by the Friedrich Rebbe, quite a number of years ago. And so the Rebbe said that everything has been prepared, even the tshuva that would appear in the Rambam. You have to have tshuva. Then he said people have already done, the Yidden have already done enough tshuva to make it possible for Moshe to come. Im Kain, he said, what is the tough kid right now? What is left if everything is prepared and everything? So the Rebbe said that the work of our period now is Kabbalah's Panei Mashiach. We have to approach life and everything to do in Yiddishkeit with the approach that since everything is ready, we are preparing ourselves to receive Mashiach B'Poyo. In other words, to actually, so it's like a double agreement. On the one hand, we are all ready. So we say, Im Kain, it's really up to Moshiach now. But on the other hand, we've got to indicate to Moshiach that we are already in the sense that we want that he should appear now. We have to stress that very deeply. And that's the Kabbalah in our lives. We have to show Moshiach that we're all ready unconditionally for whatever will be his appearance in whatever form it will take. So the Rebbe said that since this is the time of the Kinus Shluchim, then he is announcing that from now on, the task of the Shluchim is altering. That up to the final preparations for the coming of Mashiach, the main Indian of the Shlichus was spreading Yiddishkeit. Being a Shliach in a certain part of the world and learning a lot of Torah and spreading mitzvahs, spreading the whole message of Nosarachim and Gemel Sodim and Yiddishkeit in general. So the Rebbe said even that has been completed, and now the work of every Shliach throughout the world is to contact all of his people on a different plane, saying to them that from now on he's only going to try and prepare them that they should be ready, lekabel, to take and receive Moshe Tzidkenu. So he said that's obviously going to be a very special form of Avodah, and from now on, that is the only Avodas Ashlichas that remain. That's what the Rebbe says. So that's a very mind-boggling statement. And, it's a little bit puzzling. I don't know, anyway, let's not say anything negative, but that's the situation that the Rebbe, with this Sikha, he altered the whole kivun of the work of a Shliach. He has to now see that his whole sort of pulling, his whole Shlichas with his public and with his whole city or wherever it is, that he is the Shliach. To tell them all about the fact that everything is ready for Mashiach, and that we've just got to be ready, lekabel p'nei Mashiach. We've got to show Mashiach that we're ready, and we want him under all conditions. So that's what the Rebbe, that's how he began the whole Sikha, and how he set the tone for the whole Sikha. And it's interesting. It made a tremendous effect on the whole public in 770 at that time, because oddly enough, I wasn't there at the actual time the Rebbe said this Sikha. I wasn't there at the actual Kinus Shluchim. But due to a certain Indian that I had to take care of, I came not all that much longer after this Sikha to 770, and I stayed till Hanukkah. I stayed, about 3 weeks or so in in and around 770, and I left in the middle of Hanukkah, just before the end of Hanukkah. People were learning this Sikha and cocking, and everybody was saying, now on the whole Shliach, so we're all Shluchim. The Rabbi said everybody's a Shliach, and we have to educate ourselves and the whole environment, the whole Indian now is only a couple. It was a big, it made a very big effect on people. And as soon as I came into 770, somebody swept me aside and said, listen, you have to sit down. We have to learn a bit of this Sikha together. So I remember sitting with a person that I knew in 770, and we learned a whole piece of this Sikha. So it made a tremendous effect at that time on people. So the Rebbe then went on to say that the Mashiach of the generation, but that's a particular, but the really hot liners, they say the Rebbe meant himself when he said that, but whatever. The Rebbe said that the Mashiach of our time and our generation, and he said every Nasi is like the Mashiach of it. If he's a genuine Nasi, then he's like he made everybody in the whole generation, he made them Shluchim. And he said that after that whole approach on the part of his father-in-law, he said nobody who has a shayla with Chabad can see himself as not being a shliach. Everybody is a shliach. So you might say, well, I don't have a town or a city, what sort of a shliach am I? So the Rebbe said you're a shliach to your neighbors, to your friends, to your work, where you work, whatever you do during the day, or whoever you meet, you have to talk to them about this tremendous change that's taken place in the balance of Avodas Hashem on the part of Ali Yidden. Therefore, you got to spread it around. And he said that's why we find that Melech HaMashiach himself is a shliach. Yeah. He's a shliach, because the word shliach is only 10 short of Moshiach. That's to say that the numerical gematria of shliach is only 10 short of Moshiach. And another way that we find that Melech HaMashiach is a shliach is that when Hashem was talking with Moshe Rabbeinu and persuading him, that he, as it were, urging Moshe Rabbeinu to go on his shlichus to Mitzrayim, Moshe Rabbeinu was not being an easy customer, to use the expression. Is right at the end, Hashem has revealed to him his name and everything. All of a sudden, Moshe Rabbeinu says to him, Rabbeinu, he says, "Shlach no biyad tishlach." You should send in the hand of whoever you're going to send. Meaning, the simple meaning is not me, but whoever. Yeah. So it comes along Rashi over there in the second pshat, I think it is, and he brings down from a medrash that what Moshe Rabbeinu was saying is that you should send Melech HaMashiach, or that person that's going to be Mashiach, Liyosi Love, to be Goel, the whole Jewish people from the last scholars, he's the one you should send now. You know? In other words, count me out, but since I'm not going to be the one who takes them into Eretz ultimately, and now I'm not going to be going to Eretz, so he said, I don't really finish off my task. I'm only doing the first part. That's Goyal Rishon. Of a girl Achrain is not going to be me. He said to the Eibishter, Shlach no biyad tishlach. And that's a Lashon Shlicha. Well, that's Masma, that Melech HaMashiach is going to be acting in the form of a Shliach. And then he brings the most amazing pshat of it. And he says that really Moshe Rabbeinu meant something different. it's not exactly the way we tried to pshat Parshas. What did Moshe Rabbeinu really mean to say? He meant shlach no b'yad tishlach. I'm prepared to go, but I want to be together with Melech HaMashiach. In other words, like Melech HaMashiach is going to be the last one, and it brought down in certain midrashim, and Moshe Rabbeinu is also going to be the last one. So how does that work? So it's going to be like a hitachut between Moshiach and Moshe Rabbeinu, because Moshe Rabbeinu is from Shevet Levi, and Moshiach is from Shevet Yehuda. That's David HaMelech. How does that come here? No, they're going to combine, as it were. So Moshe Rabbeinu was saying, Shlach no, b'yad tishlach, send Melech HaMashiach together with me now in Mitzrayim, and then the Yosef you'll do the same thing. However, that means that both Moshe Rabbeinu and Melech HaMashiach are shluchim. They are sent to be like in the form of a shliach. That's got to do with a lot of very interesting factors, if I learn like that, because we know that there are a lot of halachas beneged to a shliach. What involves that the shliach is just like the person who sends him. He is like the hand and the body and the being of the Mashiach, the one who sends him. So if we're going to say that Moshiach is a shliach of the Eibster, a Kaviyahol, he's going to be one with Hashem, and he's going to give over, believe, literev v'dor, all the inyanim of Elikus into the world. He's going to be like a direct hand of Hashem. And in the same way, Moshe Rabbeinu, and they will, both of them, contribute to the perfection of that whole Inyan, each one with his Inyan. Moshe Rabbeinu will be like Shevet Levi, and he will be a teacher, and the Melech HaMashiach part of it, he will be a Melech. Yeah? In other words, the Moshiach will embody in himself two aspects of two souls. The one, a great teacher, Moshe Rabbeinu, and the other one, David HaMelech. And so the Rabbi, the Tzedek, says that there will be like a fusion of the two neshamas together, and the main influence will be the Melech. That's why we call Mashiach Melech HaMashiach, because the main bittul which everybody will have to Mashiach will be like subjects to a king. And when it comes to subjects to a king, you have to give yourself away completely, even if you don't understand or you don't quite figure, nonetheless you got to do what the Melech says. So he says over there to the Tzedek that even the great Talmidei Chachamim, that they're a bit like Moshe Rabbeinu, they're a bit like Shevet Levi, very big Talmidei Chachamim, they will have to be bottled, and they will have to ultimately receive the rulings of Melech HaMashiach. Because the ultimate power is the Koach of the Melech. Yeah. However, he's going to say, maybe we might learn a bit of it tonight, that's like a combination. And that's a yichud of two very interesting factors that we're going to come up against. So, the Rebbe says, Lafi says, that Moshe Rabbeinu and Melech HaMashiach and all Yidden have to be shluchim, and they are shluchim. Then let's examine what does it have to do with the Parsha where we are right now. Yeah, and that is Parsha Chayei. And he said we see that the first marriage and the first shidduch in the whole history of the Jewish people that is told about appears in this week's Parsha. And that's the shidduch of Rivka and Yitro. And who did that and who carried that out was Eliezer, Eved, Avraham. So the Rebbe says we see Avraham called Eliezer, and he made a whole thing. He said, you've got to go and don't take my son out there. You must never take him out. You must only bring somebody from my mishpacha. And he made him take an oath about it and the whole thing. He swore to him and all sorts of amazing things. So the Rebbe said there's a big discussion in the great authorities as to what was Eliezer's halakhic status. In other words, was he what we call a shatchan, or was he a shliach? That you can make a person a shliach for kiddushin. You can send somebody as your shliach to be mikadesh Aisha for you or for your son. If he made him a shliach, then he's a different type of status than if he was a shatchan. Because a shatchan is a person that does you a great favor. He looks for a shidduch for you, and he's got certain halakhic powers that he can also, according to some authorities, he can also make kiddushin before you. But he's not doing that as your shliach. He's a separate entity from you, and he's looking to do you. And you will probably reward him with something for that. Yeah. What they call shatchanas guilt. So he's a separate entity. But if he's a shliach, then he's almost part of you and bottle b'tachlis a bittul to you. So the Rebbe said he favors the idea that Eliezer was a shliach. And he said all sorts of reasons. The Rebbe brings a big pilpul when he gets to the Holy Alpi Nigla, and he shows that the whole relationship of Eliezer to Avraham Avinu was one of complete bittul, and that wherever he had maybe an own idea, and we see even in reference to the Shidduch, Rashi brings that he had an idea maybe Avraham would take his daughter instead of going around with him all over. And Avraham Avinu said to him very, very sharply that, I know you have a good daughter, but you are from a seed which is Arur, and we are Baruch, and Baruch and Arur can't get together. So we see that he had ideas of his own, and yet nonetheless he was bottled with tachlis a bittul wrong. So the Rebbe points out that if he said a shliach is not somebody that's just a robo, you tell him everything he's got to do to the final detail, and he just has to do it 1, 2, 3. Nor you make him a shliach for the ultimate aim, but he's got to have enough seichel to work out himself and enough initiative to work out how is that going to work in the Shatter. And the same with the shluchim that the Rebbe sends all over the world. Yeah, they come out and they get off the plane with their family. And what are they going to do? They're going to have enough initiative and enough seichel to work out on the spot what they're going to do. And they're going to do it. But they will have a tzlocha in that because they keep reminding themselves that they are bottled with tachlis a bittul to who said that's the whole relationship between Avraham Avinu and Eliezer. Therefore we see that Eliezer he was a very capable, independent thinker as well as being bottled to Avraham Avinu. And when he got out there, he made a whole simon, and he made a whole amazing, and he had tremendous siyata d'shmaya, but he was acting in that regard. Avraham Avinu didn't tell him, hey, make a simon and do this and do that, and then go to Besuel's house and tell him this. And he didn't even mention Besuel. He didn't say you should go to Besuel. He said you should go to that area to where my family is from, and from that general family. And he didn't say you have to go to Besuel. It was all Eliezer. It was all his. So we see, says the Rebbe, like I said, that a shliach is an independent. He's got to have a certain, even to the point that he might have his own ideas every now and then at a weak moment, just like Eliezer did. But in the end, he's bottled with tachlis of it. Yeah, he's absolutely bottled. So we're going to see in a second. I'm going to try and come in that's a Alpi Pneumius, that is a union of two very important aspects. And that affects the whole history and the whole aim of Shliach, and the whole aim of Mashiach, and the whole aim of the world after Mashiach will be here, etc., etc. However,
Amen.
That's strong.
So, just in that line, there's something here in the Sikha that's so fascinating that I feel I just have to give it over. We maybe don't really have the time for it if I want to come in at a certain point. There's a very amazing point that the Rabbi makes, and that is that we see that Avraham Avinu wrote to Eliezer before he left. He wrote him a star matona, and he wrote a kol asheloi, everything he's got, he gives to Eliezer to use it for the sake of the shli. And Rashi says, what does he need to give him so much money for? In order that whoever will hear about the suggestion, they will jump on it because they'll hear there's a lot of money and they'll be ready to send their daughter from a distant country, because there'll be a lot of money involved. So the Rebbe says, that's an impossible thing. Why does Avraham Avinu have to give Eliezer a star, kol asheloi, everything he's got? Which means that if Eliezer would use all that money and he would give everything Avraham Avinu had, Avraham Avinu wouldn't be left with anything. So he still has another 35 years to live, Avraham Avinu. How's he going to live? And he's been used to living like a big kriya. He's been used to living very richly, all of a sudden he's got nothing left, absolutely nothing. So he said, what on earth is that? And he said, the Rabbi said, this is a klotz kasha that not everybody has. Everybody reads it, every government, but it's a non-dealt with kasha, but it's a kasha. And the Rebbe said, even by tzedakah, where the Alter Rebbe says that you should give, tremendous givings of tzedakah beyond your powers altogether, he doesn't recommend that you just give everything. Obviously, he means you have to leave a bit over so that you're able to live. And so how's Avraham Avinu going to live another 35 years? And he also married again towards the end of his life to Hagar, and he had children. That's another thing that people don't notice very much. After this miraculous birth that he had with Rivka, he had Yitzchak. After that, he gave birth to 6 sons. Nobody seems to make a big fuss out of that. So the Rebbe says there's all sorts of interesting questions, But the question is, how come he gave everything up wrong? You can't do that, everything you give, even if you give to your children, let's say he gave a Yerusha to his while he was still alive. He can do that. He has the power to. He gave it to him as, you're my son, you're me. Here, take it. It's written in Tzfat, you're not allowed to do that, everything. You have to leave something for yourself. So why did he give everything to Eliezer, to use it in order that people should want the shidduch? So the Rebbe says that the shidduch of Rivka, Imenu, and Yitzchak is a tremendous inyan in the whole history of the Jewish people and the whole history of the world, for that matter, because the whole hemshech of the Jewish people took place through that. Avraham Avinu, if he hadn't had Yitzchak, there wouldn't have been the whole thing. And the fact that Yitzchak married Rivka, well, that's like the beginning of the ultimate passage into the Jewish people that Avraham Avinu is the leader of. He's the first koyach which will ultimately lead to this unbelievable people, and their fulfillment is going to be at Matan Torah. And it's written that Avraham Avinu was like the beginning of Matan Torah, according to the Arizal. So the Rabbi said, since we're dealing with such a inyan kloli, which is nogea to the whole inyan of Avraham, but he is the Rosh L'Ma'aminim, the Gemara said. He's the beginner of all those who really believe, and he's their leader, he's their cop, he's their head. He's not just a leader, he's the head. And therefore, whatever's going to happen to the Jewish people is his whole being. It's nogea to his whole entity as the forefather. And therefore, since he knew it was such a inyan, klali, he was prepared to give everything he's got. And he said, nobody else any kashas. Could we understand that? Avraham Avinu, his whole being in the world was to bring about the Jewish people, and the Mila and everything. It's all flawless in him. And this is like the fulfillment. This is the beginning of how it's all going to happen. So Avraham Avinu just gave everything he's got. Yeah. I have to live up to that kasha for my son. Yeah, Hashem helped him. Yeah. Well, he found a few bucks and he looked up Wall Street or something. And, and he made it. You know. But Lapoyo, at that moment, he gave everything away. Yeah. Oh, my. Says the Rabbi, that is because this is a inyan kloli in the whole Jewish people and the whole gile of Elikus on the world. Yeah. In the world, and therefore Avraham Avinu, that was all his whole inyan in life. That was him. So he just gave everything he got to that. What's going to be with him afterwards? How do they say it? There's a big Amish there, you know, of a Bapoil. He gave away everything. So what do you say to that man? Oh, Mela, come to us, it's an amazing thing, you know. Here's Eliezer, you know, he starts to, he's got Kol HaShalom. So the Rabbi said there's another wonder there. Since we know that he had a thought, you know, maybe he might just take all the money and put it in his pocket and disappear over the equator somewhere. And you'll never see him again, you know. So the Rabbi said, what, you know, how come you give a guy that you're not 100% sure what he's thinking, you know? How come you give him everything you got? Elamai, that there's two aspects. First of all, Avraham didn't reckon with anything, because that was his whole inyan. And secondly, he knew that when it came to the point, Eliezer was devoted to him entirely. He was absolutely bottled to him, and that's the inyan of a emes, a shliach. And it doesn't matter that he's got an independent thought every now and then, because that's a good thing, firstly. He's supposed to have an independent thought. At the same time, he's supposed to be bottled with others a bit more. It's very amazing the way the webs, weaves the whole thing together, you know. It also, let's see now where we're going to come in. So let's take a look at the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu said, Shlach Noah b'yad tishlo, and he meant that both he and Mashiach should really go. Yeah, that he and Mashiach should take them out of Mitzrayim, and he and Mashiach should take them into Israel with the Geula Shlema. So ask yourself the question: how does that work? So, like we pointed out, Moshe Rabbeinu embodies the koyach of Shevet Levi and of teaching Torah. David, Shevet Yehuda. I'm sorry, I forgot these sort of coughs. From Shevet Yehuda. So that's like the union of Chokhmah and Malchus. Chokhmah is the inyan of Moshe Rabbeinu, he's the inyan of Chokhmah. But David HaMelech is the inyan of Malchus. And this is like a fusion of them, both together. So we're going to sort of come in on page 201. just before the heading Kol Yehudi. Yeah, before the heading Kol Yehudi, there's like a paragraph of Ishkus Bakoshes Moshe. Yeah, in the Schus of the Bakosha of Moshe. Yeah. So he said, of Ishkus Bakoshes Moshe, Shlach no Biyad Tishlach, Noitro Hisachtas. There was created a union between Moshe and Moshiach. Yeah, Moshe and Moshiach become all one entity. They all link together absolutely. Moshiach Kibu Gamis Milas HaChochma. Yeah, and that's why it's brought down in Tzemach, in the Sefer Derem Mitzvah, that the Mila of David HaMelech was not only that he was a Melech, but he also had a lot of Chokhmah. He was like Chokhmah Sheva Malchus. He had a very interesting combination of wisdom and how to run the whole country in a way that all the other Malachim didn't have. And yet, nonetheless, he was a very strong and powerful and insistent king, David. So he said that was because he's already been linked up with Moshe Rabbeinu. You follow? So he got into his Malchus, he got a lot of Chokhmah. Ubegula hu yilamed Torah gam es Moshe Rabbeinu. And Melech HaMashiach is going to teach everybody when he comes. He will teach even Moshe Rabbeinu, even though he's going to be united with Moshe Rabbeinu, and they're going to like balance one the other. But he will have such a blessing from Hashem that he'll be able to take the Malchus which Moshe gave him. I'm sorry, the Chokhmah that Moshe gave him, and he'll be able to deal with it in a way that he'll give it back to Moshe Rabbeinu. You know? Yeah. Moshe kibel gamis milas hamalchus, and Moshe Rabbeinu kibel b'toich atzmo, even the milah of Malchus, as a well known. Ukafi shenemar lo vayhi b'yishuron melech. In Parshas Brachas, Zeisa Bracha, we call Moshe Rabbeinu a melech. Yeah, and so Rashi writes over there that Moshe Rabbeinu, apart from being the great leader and teacher, he was a melech. Moshe Rabbeinu, he had the koach of a melech. So where did he get that from? He was Chokhmah Datzila. He got that from Melech HaMashiach. In other words, the Melech HaMashiach got his Chokhmah, and he got Melech HaMashiach's Malchus, and so they both sort of weave together. Yeah, Moshe Kibbutz got Malchus and Malchus. Yeah, Nemar Lo V'Yivashur Melech V'Lochein Moshiach B'Gematria Shliach. Yeah, but Tosh was as big day. He said, therefore, Moshiach is the word Shliach with an extra 10. Big day Laramez Tafkido Shal Moshiach Ulavatseya as a Shlichas Yachad im Kol Esa Koiches Nafshei Ima Chokhmah Ad Lamalches. So why is Shliach 10 short of Moshiach? Because Mashiach is going to be coiling himself all the other extra Esa, meaning from Chokhmah Ad Lamalches in a special way, and that he got from Moshe Rabbeinu. The Chokhmah all the way down to the Malchus, that he got from Moshe Rabbeinu. So the two of them are like interacting, and they're joining together on all levels. So it's absolutely amazing. Really, Moshiach is going to be like how do you call it in English, a dual personality. Yeah, not a split personality, that's for sure. But he's going to be an amazing, like itatu, that's what the Rabbi calls a isachtas, a union of both these amazing things, and each one through the action in Mitzrayim interwove one with the other and remain that way for all the generations. And when Moshiach will come, his in is going to be B'tachlis Hagiloi. And in Moshe, it says Mitzrayim was more Moshe, it was Begoli, but he also had in him from Moshiach. Yeah. Of Amela, it follows Lefi that Moshiach gets an amazing picture. But the truth is that if you study carefully in the Sefer Derech Mitzvah Socha, the Rabbi Tzedek writes it over there in a very fascinating way, slightly different way. But the Rabbi develops on it in this amazing, showing that that's hidden in what Moshe Rabbeinu said. Shlach no b'yat tishlach. He didn't mean only with Melech HaMashiach. He was prepared to go also, but he wanted Melech HaMashiach to be with him. What it means, Lapisa, just by the way, and that's very important, that Moshiach is not just some, highfalutin idea on somebody's part. No, Moshiach has been part of the whole situation and the whole leadership of the Jewish people from the moment Moshe Rabbeinu took them out of Egypt. You understand? They joined together to carry out that activity, naturally. So Moshe Rabbeinu and Moshiach have been with us all the generations. You follow? And they, as it were, nuancing one after the other. You therefore take Rabbeinu HaKodesh, Rabbi Yehuda Nossi. Rabbi Yehuda Nossi, he was from David HaMelech, but he was the one who taught the Mishnah. He was the one who wrote the Mishnah, and the whole Torah Shebaal Peh is ordered and put into a proper, approachable learning situation through Rabbeinu HaKodesh. So he was Malchus, but together with that, he also had, a lot of Chokhmah Sater. He was the union of Malchus of Mashiach plus the Chokhmah of Moshe Rabbeinu. And you find it all the way through. And take the Rebbe. The Rebbe is from Shevet Yehuda, and the Rebbe is from, but he's got this unbelievable Chokhmah, and this unbelievable gift of spreading Torah throughout the whole world. Well, that's a Koch Moshe Rabbeinu, and they're all there. And one he talked to, when he went to a Farbrengen with the Rebbe, you sat there like a subject. The Rebbe was the king, and he was tremendously royal and the way the whole thing functioned. But once he sat down, he started pouring forth this unbelievable Chokhmah Sater. Well, he was the union of Moshe Rabbeinu and Shevet Yehuda Malchus based over here, And there's a Marshal over there in Bava Basra where the Gemara says that every robe of a community or rabbinic figure has a certain Malchus. He's got a certain trace of a kingship in him. It's a Gemara, I'm going to put it in Bava Basra. And the Marshal writes over there a whole piece, the Marshal and the Gemara. And he writes that wherever, if you examine all the way through the history, the great teachers of the Torah and those that we quote, they're like the life force by which we live, you'll find that they're a combination of Melech HaMoshiach, of David HaMelech, plus Moshe Rabbeinu. That's what the Marshal says. It lives on. And so some people even say even more. They say that really Malchus based David never stopped. The kingship of David HaMelech never stopped. It never ceased. It's going the whole time. And that's what we say by the Kiddush Lavana, David Melech Yisrael Chayei v'Kayam. Not just in the Ruchnias, but Parshas in the etim development of the whole history of Torah and of the Jewish leadership is a combination of those two factors, and they live on everywhere throughout Jewish history. As they start to Marshal over there, so it's an amazing thing, and that wherever you've got a great Jewish leader, you've got a fusion of both those aspects. So the Rebbe said, "Shlicha zu," this union of shlichas, which is going to be essential to Melech HaMashiach. He said, and Moshe Rabbeinu unified with him. He said, this shlicha she'tchiloso, she'atchila etzel Eliezer, u'mistayemes etzel Moshiach. He said the first shliach and the first person to actually be called a shliach was Eliezer. And Moshiach is going to be the last, final shliach b'poyo, for the whole cloud. So he said, Hutla, I'll call you Hudi. Or that shlichus would have began with Eliezer, and it's going to complete in the most massive way when the Mashiach is put onto and it's made the task. Hutal. Hutal means it's like given to you as a job. Hutal, I'll call you Hudi. That has been placed on every year. V'yeshno shtei efshoriyos levatzei et hashlichus. And there are two different ways and two different possibilities that you can carry out your shlichus. But you can't avoid it. You're a shliach. So he says, Efshel levatzei azois b'tzura shel hashpoah al ha'olam. He said, you can do it, you can be a shliach by the fact that you affect the world in general. You're an effective speaker or you're a man of influence, politically or culturally or whatever, and you affect the world, or the Kaddish, so you say, and you sanctify the world. K'may Moshe Rabbeinu, Ubedema, L'Shemesh HaMe'ira Al Ha'oreh, that the Shemesh is like a central point, and it shines around the whole world. So you've got to be in your own particular area. You've got to be like a Shemesh, and you've got to spread a lot of good, warm light all around you. So he said, that's one way. He said, or another way is that you're a speciality of bitterly. You're very, very bottled in everything you do to a Kodesh Baruch, and you mitbatel elaboirei, v'kach litza his butlers gamba oilam, and you will put through being bottled in yourself to Hashem. What do? And this is another very interesting thing that if we take it a little bit further, it comes up that you can make the world bottle. You can have an effect by being bottled in your soul. You can have an effect. Well, Mela, that's the answer to people who say, what can I do? You know, I'm just a little nobody, you know, nobody's going to ask me, and what can I really do to help this situation? So, you talk a bit of a nobody. And, you know, you may not seem to have a lot of influence. But if you are bottled and you battle yourself, well, that's the other aspect of a shliach, that he's got to be completely bottled to his mishaleh. If you work on being bottled in all of your onyonim, to the Eibashter, then that has an effect also in the world around you. Kamei Mashiach, Ubedemli Yoreach, Shemikabel Min Hashem. He said, you're like the moon is, how they call it, bottled to the Shemesh, and it gives off what the Shemesh gives it. You might say, well, that's less than the Shemesh became more powerful. So it's not really like that. That the moon has a milah, that the Shemesh is very big and he's got a big ashpah, but he's not so much bottled. He spreads a lot of light. But the person who is bottled and given himself away completely, he's got the milah of bitul. And just by the way, that's what's brought down in Tzfat, that there's a milah in everybody says the sun is more important than the moon, because the moon just receives from the sun. And so it's written in Chayei, in the Alter Rebbe Siddur, that really the moon is greater than the sun. Why? Because of the bittul, because of the butler, and the complete giving of itself away. And it says, I don't have anything except for what the sun gives me. Well, that makes it great. Yes, that makes it in some way greater than the sun. And therefore, the person who's botel, he is really a very powerful person. And he's got a lot of influence in the world, but he doesn't live for himself. He doesn't see that he's worth anything. But by the way, this is important to stress that there's a maimah, that's the maimah I'm learning with the Bochum in the yeshiva. Hello? That's the maimah I'm learning. There's a maimah on this week's Parshas from the Rebbe Hashem in Tovei Zayin Tet. And the Rebbe Hashem talks over there about Simcha. He said that emes simcha only comes from bittul. But if you hold yourself for a whole material, and your simcha is from what you get and what you achieve and what you are and everything, he said you don't really have emes simcha. Because you're all the time thinking, well, maybe if I'd done better, I would have had more, maybe I'm not getting enough, So whatever you get, you're happy with, but afterwards you're not. Why? Because you're really looking after your own material. He said, if you're bottled completely and you say, no, everything I've got is only the Avis, that's not mine, because I don't have anything, and you're absolutely bottled, then you have emes simcha. From who is? Because you have the simcha of the Avis there. He puts simcha, his simcha, into you. That's what the Rosh writes over. So it comes out that if you have emes a bittul, or we're talking about real bittul, not stam, then you are very special and you have a very special power. And that's the greatness of the moon compared to the sun. That's what the Rabbi, that's what he means, That's right. Only what is bittul. That's what the Rabbi says in Perek Bo, in Tanya. Only what is bittul. If you're a whole Matthias, it looks as if you're getting it, but you're not really. You're pushing it away. You understand? By feeling your own Matthias, you're like, in a very delicate way, pushing away the divine Ashpah. But if you're bottled with Tachlis Apitul, then you get it the way it really is. You get it the way it really is and the way it's really meant to be, then it shines into you. That's what the Rebbe said there in that little paragraph. Since there's this amazing fusion between the two, he can be on the one hand, but totally sabitul, absolute, because he's getting that from Mashiach and from Moshe Rabbeinu. They're giving him that koyach. וביחד עם זה יש מציאות של אדם חושב ומבין באמצעות שכלי האישי כיצד להשפיע על העולם ולהויר על העולם. In other words, he can be like the moon, and yet at the same time, he can be like the sun. Because he's so bottled to the Avesta, to the Mishalaya. Therefore, he gains, through Hashem giving him, he gains the power to give more. But it's not here. It's divinely inspired in Yonim that he gives more. And the Rabbi Hashem over there, it's Mummy, I'm telling you, we could spend whole weeks learning to see. This is Mummy's, and that's what the Rabbi Hashem writes over there in that Maimah. He brings the story with the Arizal, the story that Charedim and his Sefer, he brings down a story and he said he was there and he heard it. He said it was one standing when the Rabbeinu Chaim Vital asked Harav Eloki Rabbeinu Yitzchak Luria, that's what he writes. He writes about the Arizal. And he said that Adikon, the Rabbeinu Chaim Vital asked the Arizal, and he said, listen, he said, we know that you spent years learning the Zohar Kodesh and everything, and you're tremendously versed in Tzeres HaKabbalah, and he said, but so are we, you're Talmudim, we're not little, how do you call it, Malbekachas, we're guys that, we also learned, and we're in, but we see that we're not in your league, you're something different, So he said, what's your secret? What is your pitch line? How do you call it? What is your patent? So you know what the Rizal answered him? The Rizal didn't say, no, I learned another few years more than you did the Zohar, and I'm a bit sharper. You know what the Rizal said? He said, only because of one thing. He said that every mitzvah that came to my hand, I was mekayem it with simcha and beli kates for Shiur, without any limitation. in the Simcha, and he said, I had Simcha on every mitzvah that I did, more than if they'd given me all the jewels and the precious stones in the whole world. If they would have collected all the jewelry in the whole world and given it to me, I had more Simcha on one mitzvah that I did. That's what the Rizal said to him. So, everybody's eyes jump out. And he said, that's how he got to Gilei Eliyahu and to Ruach HaKodesh. That's what he said. The Rizal. And the Charedim, right, that he heard him say it to Rabbeinu Chaim Vital. So the Rabbi Shabbat, you see from that if you have real Simcha, we're not just talking about saying, well, I'm very pleased with myself, I'm very happy I got my picture in the paper or something, but, I'm very nizdos. You are Betachlis HaBittul. Because you're Betachlis HaBittul, the emes of Simcha can shine into you. Oh, the emes of Simcha shines into you. Then the Eibster gives you everything. Then he reveals to you anything you want. Because you're Sameach on him, not on yourself. That's what's written in the Maimon of the Rebbe. That's what I'm teaching the guys in his Shiur. Says the Rebbe, the commentates that it's not the Matthias that demands. Yeah. He has to, on the other hand, he has to, be a bit of a Matthias, that since he's got to carry out his shlichus, he's got to have enough seichel to do what he's supposed to do, without the whole time coming back to the Mishaleh, saying, listen, what are we going to do? Otherwise the Mishaleh says, listen, man, I got no time for you. I'm busy making other shlichus. You've got to have enough seichel. So therefore the Rebbe said, you have to be, V'salam Matthias. And then you become like the Shemesh. K'shliach Ne'eman, Amiachet Shtei Tchunas Hofiyai. You're like an emissaire that unites these two opposite things. That on the one hand, you're Batil B'Tachlis HaBittul, like the Uriah, and yet on the other hand, you become like a Shemesh. You have what to give up. But it's all because you are Batil, because you're B'Tachlis HaBittul. Then you have the power to give up. Okay, James Eliezer, Nasan Abraham is called Asher Elohim, like we said before, because it was so negate to the whole cloud. Therefore, Abraham gave him everything. The same way, your Meshaleah, who is the Eibishter and the Rebbe, they give you everything that they got for you. In other words, everything you need, Hashem is going to give you. In other words, call Hashem, Hashem signs you up whatever you want. So he said, Yakakam ono HaKadosh Baruch Hu noisen eskol Hashem lahatzlachas avedus ashlichas ayachida lahovil isgalus Mashiach Tzidkeinu. In other words, if you'll start up to do it the way that your whole in it, only to bring the revelation and be makabel, the revelation of Mashiach, then Hashem will give you, that's the emes shlichus, shlatna v'yatisla. Hashem will write you off a star, whatever you need, He will give you. Whatever you were required, He will give you. What are you going to do? You're going to go around saying, Kabbalah's Mashiach Tzidkeinu. Shalom Aleichem, everybody. I'm sorry, I've only learned a few lines inside, but it's very, very important. And in those few lines, we see, in other words, it's an old cloud of my Mashbiah taught me that you're never a loser in Kedusha. You give away a tremendous amount, and that's bittul. But the Eibishter, from another side, He gives you back. And you don't really realize at the beginning, but Hashem is really signing you off. Call Hashem, as they say, He's giving you an open check. And you don't really realize it at the beginning, but because you're hotel, you get a check and the door's open to you. Amazing thing. I mean, Philip, it could be you don't notice exactly how it's really like that at the beginning. Why? Because you're a bit of a Matthias still. You still, say, oh, I would maybe like it another way and this and that. But if you really bottle, then you will notice that Hashem is, He's signing everything off to you. Oh, the Rabbi develops on it. I'm just giving you the main outline.
Moshe and Moshiach. The Zohar speaks of Moshe, the train Mashiachim. Moshe and the two Moshiachs.
Oh, yeah.
The Vilna Gaon wrote whole books on Mashiach ben Yosef. Why does Hasidus de-emphasize Mashiach ben Yosef? De-emphasize. Why?
Yeah. So the truth is that in some ways Chassidus does emphasize, because we see that the whole prayer to hold out in the Golas is from Yosef. Because it's written, Noye Katsoin Yosef, that during the time of the Golas, it's all the prayer of Yosef that's holding us all. The perfection of his whole prayer is Moshe ben Yosef. And that will be like the preserving and the prayer which will carry us through all the, how do you call it, the Chevlei Moshe and all those stories and the Bilbulim. That will carry us through. And then there's an opinion that he will be killed by the Rishoyim. So the Orach Chama says, got his rights in his spiritual altar, that you have to pray that he shouldn't be killed, Moshe ben Yosef. And Chassidus brings that. And so Mashiach is the ability to hold over despite all the confusion and to be devoted to the whole thing. David HaMelech is the koya, mamish b'poyo, of Malchus to carry you into the state of Mashiach as a kingship, b'poyo. You follow? And those are the two, like, nuances. But here we're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu and Melech Mashiach ben David are also there. In other words, everything is like, it's a question of Hela Megillah. It's totally, in that particular period, what is the Ika at that moment of the Ashwa. But it's all there. You follow?
Yep.
It's just a question of a Mashiach ben Yosef is mentioned in Chassidus, but in a very special way, not openly, but very much. And that's why how do you call it? Rabbeinu Chaim Vital writes in one place that the Arizal was Mashiach ben Yosef. And that's why he passed away so early, because the koyach of the Sitra got him, unfortunately. And then another place, he writes that the Arizal was Mashiach ben David. He was the Mashiach HaSofi. You follow? So make up your mind, either is that. So it's like Talui, what was the Ika at a certain point, you follow? But ultimately, Moshe ben Yosef is definitely there, and he's working. But he's like the ability to preserve us all in where the koyach of the Managi to Kedusha is working the whole time. And Yosef gives you the koyach to stand over that, come through it all. And here we're talking about a fusion between Moshe and Moshe, which is there the whole time. That's what I brought. But the Mashur says that it's there the whole time. And Rabbeinu HaKodesh and people like that, they are a living union of the two aspects. You follow?
Yes.
No. Very good. Okay, so there we are, guys. So we have a most amazing thing here. We've got both koiches working together to bring Moshiach B'Poel, and it's already waiting. Moshiach is waiting. He wants us to be Makabel here. That's what the Rabbi said. Wow.
Wow.
And that's the whole shlichut from now on. From when he said that to you. And I remember, like I said, in the first few months after the Rebbe said this, the whole, somebody was up on, up in the air, people were going on. The Kabul name said, they were cocky in this thing. I walked in the seventh, the first person I met, he said, all right, come, let's sit down and we'll learn a bit of the Kabbalah's Panei Mashiach. I thought, no,
What year was that Sikha?
non bay.
Shkoyach. Shkoyach. Thank you. Wow.
Aye.
Yeah.
Don't throw away your old hat. You wear it in the rain.
Yeah. That's the point. And
Very
It's a
proud.
good strap.
yeah.
Beautiful hat, very nice.
Baruch Hashem.
Aye. Thanks. Thank you. You see it now, Rabbi, he's a very, very amazing teacher of Torah, Rabbi. And he said that the Rebbe has Mitzadis Yichos, he has even a Maila, even over Rabbeinu HaKodesh. Yeah, what's the pshat? That Rabbeinu HaKodesh was from David HaMelech only to his mother. To his mother's side, he was a direct descendant from David HaMelech. But the Rebbe is from both sides, both to his mother and to his father. He goes back to David HaMelech. Yeah, that's what Rabbi Wolper, that's what he said. Yeah, that is very powerful.
Thank you, Yaakov. Thank you, Rabbi Gafne. Thank you. Wow.
The student Mendel Kummer
Yeah.
and his Aliyah.
So,
Before Shalema.
ברוך אתה נמצא במענן, ברוך אתה למענכם, אנחנו מברך והגפן.
Amen.
Chai.